The morning that changed everything. The morning began like any other. Emily Johnson woke up to the soft vibration of her phone on the bedside table. The sunlight was just starting to slip through the curtains of her small apartment. She stretched, smiled faintly, and checked the time. It was supposed to be a normal day. But some mornings are not meant to be normal. Her phone rang again. This time, it wasn't an alarm. It was a call. Emily frowned and picked it up. "Hello?" There was silence for a second, then a shaky voice. "Emily, it's me." Her heart tightened. It was her mother. Before Emily could say anything, the words came rushing through the phone: accident, highway, hospital. Emily's hands began to tremble. She sat down on the edge of the bed, unable to breathe properly. "What do you mean accident?" she whispered. Her mother started crying. It was her brother, Daniel. Emily didn't remember getting dressed. She didn't remember locking the door. She only remembered running, out of her apartment into the street, waving down a cab with tears already falling from her eyes. At the hospital, the smell of disinfectant hit her like a wall. The lights were too bright. Everything felt unreal, like she was trapped in someone else's nightmare. She saw her parents sitting in the waiting area, holding hands, their faces pale with fear. Emily ran to them. "Where is he?" she asked. "Please tell me he's okay." No one answered her. In that silence, Emily felt something inside her break. She looked around the hospital corridor, hoping to see Daniel walking toward her with that familiar smile. But he never came. That morning, one phone call changed Emily's life forever. The hospital that felt like a prison. The hospital corridor felt endless. Emily sat on a cold metal chair, staring at the closed doors in front of her. Every few seconds, a nurse walked past, but none of them stopped. Each passing moment felt heavier than the last. Her father stood near the wall, his arms crossed, trying to stay strong. Her mother hadn't stopped crying. Emily wanted to cry too, but her tears felt stuck somewhere deep inside her chest. "Can I see him?" Emily finally asked, her voice barely audible. The doctor sighed before answering. "He's in critical condition. You can see him for a few minutes." Emily's legs felt weak as she walked into the room. Daniel lay there, motionless. Tubes covered his body. Machines beeped softly, keeping rhythm with a heart that was struggling to survive. Emily moved closer, her hands shaking as she reached for his. "Daniel, it's me," she whispered. "I'm here." She waited for his fingers to move. For his eyes to open. For anything. Nothing happened. Memories flooded her mind, late-night talks, childhood fights, shared secrets, and promises about the future. He was always there for her. Always. "I need you," she said quietly. "Please don't leave me." Hours passed. The day turned into night. Emily refused to leave his side. She talked to him about everything, her fears, her dreams, the things she never said when she had the chance. Late that night, the doctor returned. Emily saw the look on his face before he spoke. "I'm sorry, we did everything we could." The machines stopped. The beeping faded. And just like that, Daniel was gone. Emily felt the world collapse around her. Her scream echoed through the room as she fell to her knees, holding onto a hand that was already cold. That hospital, once full of hope, became the place where Emily lost everything. The silence after goodbye. The days after Daniel's death felt unreal to Emily. Time kept moving, but she felt frozen. People came to the house, offering condolences, saying the same words again and again: "He's in a better place, be strong." None of it made the pain any lighter. Emily barely spoke. She sat quietly in her room, staring at the walls, listening to the silence that now filled the house. Daniel's laughter was gone. His footsteps were gone. Everything felt empty. At night, Emily couldn't sleep. She lay awake, replaying their last conversation in her mind. She wondered if she had said enough, if she had loved him enough. Guilt wrapped around her heart like a tight knot. One evening, while cleaning his room, Emily found a small box under Daniel's bed. Inside were old photos, movie tickets, and handwritten notes. Each item carried a memory that cut deeper than the last. At the bottom of the box, she found a letter addressed to her. Her hands trembled as she opened it. "Emily, if you're reading this, I'm probably not there anymore. I know this world can be cruel, but I want you to live fully. Don't let my absence steal your happiness. Promise me you'll keep going." Tears fell onto the paper. Emily pressed the letter against her chest and cried for the first time since the hospital. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, broken, and endless. From that night on, Emily began writing letters back to Daniel. She wrote about her pain, her loneliness, and the fear of living without him. Writing became the only way she could breathe again. But even with the letters, the silence never truly left. And Emily realized that grief doesn't fade, it learns to live beside you. Learning to breathe again. Weeks passed, and life slowly demanded Emily's attention again. The world outside her grief did not stop. Bills arrived. Work emails piled up. Friends checked in, even though Emily rarely replied. One morning, Emily forced herself to step outside. The sun felt unfamiliar on her skin, almost offensive in its brightness. She walked without a destination, letting her feet decide where to go. She ended up at a small park near her apartment. Children were playing, laughing loudly, chasing each other across the grass. Emily sat on a bench, watching them from a distance. For a moment, the sound of laughter hurt her heart. But then something unexpected happened. She smiled. It was small and brief, but it surprised her. Guilt followed immediately. How could I smile when Daniel was gone? The thought crushed her chest. An elderly woman sat beside her on the bench. "First time back outside?" the woman asked gently. Emily nodded. "I lost my husband years ago," the woman continued. "I thought smiling meant forgetting him. But it doesn't. It means you're still alive." Those words stayed with Emily long after the woman walked away. That evening, Emily opened her notebook and wrote another letter to Daniel. This time, it wasn't just about pain. She wrote about the park, the children, the smile that scared her. "I'm trying," she wrote. "I don't know how to live without you, but I'm trying." Emily started small changes. She cooked again. She cleaned her apartment. She answered one email, one phone call, one step at a time. The pain was still there, heavy and constant. But now, it shared space with something new. Hope. Emily didn't know what the future held, but for the first time since that terrible morning, she allowed herself to believe that surviving didn't mean betraying Daniel's memory. It meant carrying him forward, with every breath. Learning to breathe again. Weeks passed, and life slowly demanded Emily's attention again. The world outside her grief did not stop. Bills arrived. Work emails piled up. Friends checked in, even though Emily rarely replied. One morning, Emily forced herself to step outside. The sun felt unfamiliar on her skin, almost offensive in its brightness. She walked without a destination, letting her feet decide where to go. She ended up at a small park near her apartment. Children were playing, laughing loudly, chasing each other across the grass. Emily sat on a bench, watching them from a distance. For a moment, the sound of laughter hurt her heart. But then something unexpected happened. She smiled. It was small and brief, but it surprised her. Guilt followed immediately. How could I smile when Daniel was gone? The thought crushed her chest. An elderly woman sat beside her on the bench. "First time back outside?" the woman asked gently. Emily nodded. "I lost my husband years ago," the woman continued. "I thought smiling meant forgetting him. But it doesn't. It means you're still alive." Those words stayed with Emily long after the woman walked away. That evening, Emily opened her notebook and wrote another letter to Daniel. This time, it wasn't just about pain. She wrote about the park, the children, the smile that scared her. "I'm trying," she wrote. "I don't know how to live without you, but I'm trying." Emily started small changes. She cooked again. She cleaned her apartment. She answered one email, one phone call, one step at a time. The pain was still there, heavy and constant. But now, it shared space with something new. Hope. Emily didn't know what the future held, but for the first time since that terrible morning, she allowed herself to believe that surviving didn't mean betraying Daniel's memory. It meant carrying him forward, with every breath. The call she never expected. Emily had just started to feel a fragile sense of balance in her life when the phone rang again. For a moment, her heart stopped. Phone calls had become her fear. Every ring reminded her of that morning, the one that destroyed everything. She stared at the screen, her hands trembling. It was an unknown number. She almost ignored it. Almost. "Hello," she said quietly. "Is this Emily Johnson?" A man asked. "Yes. Who's this?" "This is Officer Miller from the state police. I'm calling regarding your brother, Daniel Johnson." Emily felt the air leave her lungs. She sat down slowly, gripping the edge of the table. I thought everything was over," she whispered. "There's something we need to talk to you about," the officer continued. New information came up about the accident. Emily's mind raced. New information? What could possibly be left? Later that day, she sat across from the officer in a small office. He explained that Daniel's accident hadn't been as simple as they first believed. There had been another car involved. A hit and run. The driver had fled the scene. Emily clenched her fists. Anger surged through her grief. "So someone did this, and just walked away?" she asked, her voice shaking. The officer nodded. "We're reopening the case." That night, Emily couldn't sleep. Her sadness mixed with rage, confusion, and unanswered questions. She opened her notebook and wrote to Daniel again, but this time, the words were different. "I don't just miss you," she wrote. "I want the truth." For the first time since his death, Emily felt something powerful rising inside her. Not hope. Not peace. Strength. She realized that healing didn't mean forgetting. Sometimes it meant standing up, for love, for justice, and for the ones who could no longer speak. And Emily knew this journey wasn't just about surviving anymore. It was about fighting back. The evidence she found. The next morning, Emily went through Daniel's belongings. His room, once a sanctuary of laughter and memories, now felt like a crime scene of her broken heart. But she was determined. She searched for anything that could help. Papers, receipts, old phone messages, anything. Her hands shook as she picked up a crumpled envelope under his desk. Inside, she found something unexpected. A set of photographs and notes Daniel had made months before the accident. Emily's eyes widened. The notes suggested that Daniel had been worried about someone tailing him for weeks. And the photographs showed a black car parked suspiciously near his office and in different locations he frequently visited. Her stomach churned. This was no accident. Someone had wanted Daniel gone. Emily knew she couldn't do this alone. She reached out to Officer Miller the next morning and handed over the evidence. "I found these in Daniel's room," she said, her voice firm. "I don't know who did this, but someone killed him, and they need to pay for it." The officer studied the photos carefully. "This is solid evidence, Emily," he said. "We'll follow this lead. Thank you for bringing it to us." Emily walked out of the police station feeling lighter, but the sadness still clung to her like a shadow. Yet for the first time since that morning, her grief carried purpose. That evening, she sat on her balcony, notebook in hand. The sky was painted with shades of orange and purple as the sun set. She wrote to Daniel again, this time differently. "I will not let this end with sorrow. I will find them. I will fight. And I will honor your life every step of the way." Emily knew the journey ahead would be painful, but now she had a mission. Not just to survive, but to seek justice for her beloved brother. Facing the truth. Emily couldn't sleep. Every night she relived the accident in her mind, every detail replaying like a cruel film. But now, armed with Daniel's notes and photographs, she had a direction, a purpose. The next day, she met Officer Miller at the police station. They discussed leads, suspects, and possible connections. Emily listened carefully, absorbing every detail. She realized that the path to justice would be long and painful, but she felt a spark of determination she hadn't felt since Daniel's death. Later, Emily decided to retrace Daniel's steps. She visited his office, his favorite cafe, even the park where they used to spend weekends. Everywhere she went, she looked for the black car, the one in Daniel's photos. Hours passed, but nothing. Her frustration grew. but she refused to quit. That evening, she returned home, exhausted but determined. She opened Daniel's notebook and started compiling a timeline, connecting the dots she had overlooked before. Each entry brought clarity, but also horror. Someone had meticulously followed Daniel, and now Emily knew, the same person might still be out there. Her phone rang late at night. Emily's heart skipped a beat. She hesitated, then answered. "Emily Johnson?" The voice on the other end said, unfamiliar but cold. "Yes," she replied cautiously. "I know you're looking for the truth," the voice said. "Stop, or you'll end up like him." Emily froze, her blood running cold. But instead of fear, determination surged. She gritted her teeth. "No, I won't be silenced. I will not let fear control me." Emily hung up and stared at the ceiling. The road ahead was dangerous, but she would not turn back. She would uncover the truth. And she would make sure justice was served. That night, she wrote in her notebook, "I am not just surviving. I am fighting. And I will not stop until the world knows what happened to Daniel." Justice and closure. Weeks of searching, waiting, and planning finally led Emily to the breakthrough she had been hoping for. Officer Miller called her early in the morning. "Emily," he said, "we've tracked down the car. The driver has a record, and the evidence points directly to him." Emily's hands trembled. Relief, anger, and exhaustion all surged at once. She felt a weight lift slightly from her chest, but the pain of losing Daniel never fully disappeared. The trial was long and grueling. Emily attended every hearing, recounting her memories, Daniel's life, and the evidence she had helped uncover. Sitting in the courtroom, she often felt overwhelmed by grief, but also by a quiet strength that had grown within her since that tragic morning. Finally, after weeks, the verdict came, guilty. The man who had stolen Daniel from the world would pay for his actions. Emily felt tears fall freely as the judge spoke. Justice, at last, had been served. After the trial, Emily returned home. She walked through the apartment, touching the walls and furniture, remembering Daniel's laughter, his smile, the way he always made the world brighter. She sat at her desk and opened her notebook, the same one she had used to write to him every night. "Daniel, I did it. I kept my promise. I fought for you. I will carry your memory forward, every single day." Though the ache of loss remained, Emily finally felt a sense of peace. She understood now that grief and love could exist together, that the pain of losing someone so dear could coexist with the strength to keep moving forward. That night, Emily stepped onto her balcony, looking at the stars. She whispered to the sky, "I'll live. I'll remember. I'll honor you always." And for the first time in what felt like forever, Emily smiled, a small, fragile but real smile. The journey had been cruel. But Emily had survived. She had grown. And Daniel's spirit would always guide her. The end.